that we can reboost the International Space Station. We can transfer Russian fuel to the Russian part of the station. We can transfer oxygen, nitrogen, or air, drinkable water. And we also have the capacity to store dry cargo inside the pressurized half.
We have a cutout here, a model of the ATV, and we've sort of cut out these sections so that you can see what's going on. Charlotte, it comes in two sections, doesn't it? Can you talk us through it?
Yes, very briefly, to put it simple terms, there are two parts. One is the spacecraft. This is the unpressurized part. And the forward part is the cargo carrier. This is the pressurized part. In the rear part of the vehicle, we have our propulsion systems, our tanks, the Russian tanks, the water and the gas. And in this section, the pressurized part, crew will open the hatch once we are docked, and they can enter into the vehicle and remove cargo and then start transferring water and gas as well.
Let's talk about the cargo. I would imagine that the crew are, well, maybe not excited, but certainly anticipating the arrival of fresh supplies, a little bit like your supermarket lorry arriving with your supermarket shop. Obviously, there's going to be some nice goodies and food on board. What sort of stuff apart from that?
Well, we are carrying close to 2.7 tons of equipment, and we are carrying spare parts for the ISS. We are carrying mundane parts like printers and cables, batteries for some of the experiments inside Columbus, and various other equipment. And then, of course, for the crew, we are carrying crew provisions, towels, hygiene kits, and, of course, food. And yes, in case anybody is wondering, we are carrying some goodies. I've been told that there's both cappuccino and tiramisu on board.
I'm sure you're going to have some very delighted astronauts when those arrive. What are they going to do once ATV docks?
The first thing we need to do once ATV has successfully docked to the station is to equalize the pressure between the two vehicles in order to be able to open the hatch. Once the hatch is open, the crew will proceed through a series of steps to set it up for attached phase configuration. So securing the hatch, installing vital equipment like fire extinguisher and portable breathing apparatus, and flipping a few safety switches. And once that is done, ATV will be in hatch open configuration, which is the nominal state we are in.
Just quickly, Charlotte, it's been a long project for everybody. This is the last ATV today. It must be an emotional moment. How are you all feeling?
I think I can safely say that I speak for the hundreds of people who have really worked hard to prepare for this day. We are all eagerly awaiting the start of our final mission, and of course it's a bit bittersweet.
Thank you very much indeed, Charlotte Bextor. The boosters are jettisoned 2.5 minutes into the flight, followed by the fairing just over a minute later, exposing ATV-5 to space. The second tracking station picks up the signal at the SNA boat as Ariane flies out northeast over the Atlantic. Just under 9 minutes into the flight, the upper stage takes over, and that burns for about 8 minutes before cutting out its engine for a 45-minute ballistic phase. The flight path takes the vehicle out across the Atlantic, across northern Europe, Russia, Ukraine, down across India, Indonesia, and finally to Australia. Here, after a quick burn to put the satellite onto the correct orbit, the upper stage starts the process of separating ATV. 1 hour and 4 minutes after liftoff. So those are the mission highlights. That's what's going to happen after launch. Right now we are 7 minutes and 35 seconds to launch. Let's continue our walk around mission control. A couple of important people to keep your eye on. This is the mission director, Didier Said tonight, and he coordinates the day-to-day activities at the launch pad. And the other person who's sitting next to him is the range operations manager tonight. It's Joël Egaldi, and he's in charge of coordinating the launch base systems. And it's going to be Joël's voice that you will be hearing throughout the countdown and the flight, and there he's just announced a key milestone in the countdown. It's the beginning of the synchronized sequence. This is the final part of the countdown where the launch vehicle becomes progressively automated. The computer handing over to the computers on board Ariane, and they take on a very impressive range of operations in this final phase. So teams have been working here on the base for nearly 10 months, some of them, to prepare for tonight. We're going to find out more now. The various Ariane 5 stages arrived by boat and were taken directly to the Vehicle Integration Building, the BIL, where the main stage was raised to a vertical position and placed on the launch table. The two solid rocket boosters were transferred from storage and secured to the upper stage. The third stage was then integrated and the whole thing transferred to the final assembly building to clean rooms at the payload preparation complex at the CSG. Parts of the vessel, the cargo module, the avionics module and propulsion module, as well as the solar panels and flight adapter. Teams then loaded the cargo, fuel, water, air and food. The tanks were then filled with 3 tons of propellant for the various different subsystems. On the 23rd of June, Georges Lemaitre was transferred to the... One of the last steps before encapsulating ATV inside the fairing was to load the last few bits of equipment for the astronauts. The long campaign lasted with the launcher. One of the last steps before encapsulating ATV inside the fairing was to load the last few bits of equipment for the astronauts. The long campaign lasted 6 months in total to prepare the launcher and ATV Georges Lemaitre. It also involved numerous daily meetings between the teams, culminating in the Launch Readiness Review 2 days before liftoff. This meeting authorised the transfer of Ariane to the pad the day before launch. It took an hour to slowly roll the launcher to the pad on its table along special rails, where it's now waiting patiently for liftoff. Charlotte and I are now back in our commentary box. Charlotte's going to be joining me throughout the programme, and we'll be taking you through to separation of the ATV. So you can see the green status panels there on the right-hand side of your screen. All the different parts sending their status there. This is the Launch Control Centre. What's happening over here?
Yes, there are 3 teams in this Launch Control Center. One is led by the COL, Klaus Sell, and he deals with ground operations, and he liaises with the launch site operations manager. If all conditions are met, it is he that authorizes the start of the synchronized sequence. He is supported by a quality manager who was just in view. Then there's a second team that ensures the readiness of the launcher and is led by the CPAP. Tonight this is Didier Aubin. And he is also supported by a quality manager, which is Erika Velliou. So this is all kept under close control.
And this is often known as the bunker because it's in a very specially protected building only 3 kilometers from the pad in the launch zone, which is where what we're looking at right now. 2 minutes and 44 seconds to launch. This is the program director. Today it's Pierre-Yves Bertin. He coordinates between Arianespace and the European Space Agency. And this is the ATV desk. This is your gang, Charlotte.
Yes, this is our mission manager. It is his job to make sure all the various issues are resolved to get us here today. And he is supported by his deputy, Monsieur Siriguet. Next to them is the Astrium team, led